The way that most young men speak to women is oftentimes the reason that they get rejected. I have a pretty embarrassing story that should relate to this video pretty well. I went on a date with this one girl. We went out to get ice cream and everything was like not going really great. I was super nervous, not very confident, and I kept on just asking her random question after random question. What do you like to do for fun? How many siblings do you have? What are you doing this weekend? And eventually she just like looked at me and she was like, is this like a job interview or something? And I honestly couldn't really tell if she was joking or if she was being serious, but the vibe was just super off this whole time. But honestly, like, she didn't really seem that interested, and honestly, I wasn't really that interested. But after this whole experience, I realized, like, okay, talking to girls is something that I really have to improve, and I need to, like, level up this skill. So I did some deep introspection, some deep philosophical thinking, and I came up with my 4-step framework of talking to women. Step 1, the single most important part is your mindset. Just tell me the exact thing to say. Just tell me the exact Tinder pickup line. Bro, that's exactly why you are going to fail. You're focused on the exact thing to say. You're focused on the tactics. Using like tactics that a lot of other like people talk about on YouTube and all these like dating tactics, yeah, they might actually help you a little bit in the short term, but they're not going to help you build up the long-term mindset and the long-term skills you need to actually succeed with your dating life. Because think about it, like if you were a football quarterback and you were focused on like, oh yeah, how do I make this one specific throw, compared to saying like, well, how do I focus on how to read a defense and how to actually play the game? The guy who focuses on the long-term mindsets and the long-term skills will always beat out the guy who focuses on just like, oh, easy tactics. And eventually I will tell you like some things you can actually talk about and say, so don't like freak out and click off the video. But I just wanted to make this point first. It's so important that you view yourself as a catch. That when you go on a date, instead of saying things to yourself like, I really hope I don't get rejected, I really hope she likes me back, you say things to yourself like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna be my best self. I'm gonna be authentic. And if she likes me for who I am, that's great. But if not, I'll be completely fine. Because the reason most guys get nervous is they're focused on the outcome. They're focused on like not messing things up. But instead of focusing on not messing things up and always coming from this place of scarcity, just have the mindset that I'm gonna have a good time, and if things go well, that's great. But if not, I'll be completely fine. Because at the end of the day, all you can focus on is what you can control. You can't control how the exact outcome goes. You can't control whether or not she likes me back. But what you can control is if you are your best self and the mindset you have, the attitude that you have. So have an abundance mindset and stop worrying so much about the outcome. Step 2, and this is like one of the things you can actually focus on in terms of like tactics. That sounds kind of weird to say, but yeah, here's one of the things you can actually focus on. And that is avoiding the interview vibe. Like we talked about earlier, super unattractive when all you do is just ask these random ass questions. So think of these 2 different guys. The first guy we're gonna call Jimmy. Jimmy goes on a date and he just asks random question after random question. What do you like to do for fun? What are you doing this weekend? How many siblings do you have? Whereas Alexander, he goes on a date and he asks questions in the right way. Instead of just asking random question after random question, he asks questions and talk about things that relate to each other. What's your favorite place you've gone on vacation? Mexico? Oh, you went to Mexico. What was your favorite thing about Mexico? You stayed at this place in Mexico? No way, I've stayed there too. Here's my story about what I did when I was there. You see the difference? One guy, he just asks random question after random question, whereas the other guy, he asks questions that actually build off each other and actually like has a real conversation that's not just like super basic. Also focus on telling your own stories and asking her to tell her own stories. Because the key is you don't want to have this like interview vibe where you're just asking random ass questions, because it's gonna just throw the whole vibe off. Step 3 is to be authentic. A mistake that a lot of guys will make is they'll act in a way that isn't authentic to them because they think it's gonna like make them more attractive. If I leave her on red for 2 days, then the one dating YouTuber said that that's gonna make her think about me more and make her chase after me. But you should never behave in a way that isn't like authentic to you. Because understand that if you behave in a way that isn't authentic, if you try to be someone that you're not, well, you're going to end up attracting a girl who's not actually attracted to you. She's attracted to this fake version, this fake personality that you've built up that isn't who you actually are. And if you end up attracting someone who isn't actually attracted to you, but attracted to this fake version of you, well, you can't keep up that forever. Because eventually you're going to just go back to the way that you naturally are. So that's why it's so important you be authentic, so you actually find someone who's the right person for you. So in a weird way, actually have the mindset that like, if a girl doesn't like me for who I am, that's a good thing because she just wasn't the right girl for me. And that allows you to be so much more confident, because instead of focusing on just like, oh, I have to get this one girl, oh, things have to go well, you're going in with the mindset that, hey, I'm going to try to find the right person for me. And if she doesn't like me, she's just not the right person. So be authentic and don't try to be someone that you're not. Step 4, and maybe the most important, is you have to get practice. Think about basketball, for example. Like, imagine if Stephen Curry showed up to the basketball court for the first time ever when he was a little kid and he missed his first ever shot, and then he told like, oh dad, like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna quit basketball because I'm not good. You would say like, well, that's stupid, like you haven't practiced. So why do you go up and talk to one girl and get rejected and then all of a sudden say like, oh yeah, I just can't talk to girls, bro, I just suck at it? It's like, no, maybe you just don't have enough experience. Because as much as we can talk about like, oh yeah, do this, the reality is like, you're probably gonna have some awkward first dates when no matter how many videos about it you watch, no matter how much you actually like think about it, it doesn't matter till you actually get in the moment and you actually like learn from it. And just so you know, it's completely normal to be nervous. Like that's a natural human feeling. And it's also normal to get rejected a bit. Like no guy who's actually put himself out there and has like approached girls, has gone on dates, has never been through a rejection. Sure, maybe there's like that one guy who met a girl in high school and like they got married after 3 years, but like you don't see that very often. It's pretty rare. So the reality is you're gonna have to go through rejections. You're gonna have to go through failures. It's just part of life. And don't be the guy who's always running away from failure, who's always scared of failure. I know I'm talking about this in terms of dating, but this can apply to every aspect of life. The only way you can get better, the only way you can learn is if you mess up. If you never mess up, you're simply not putting yourself out there enough. You're not trying new things. So instead of having a negative attitude towards failure and saying like, oh yeah, like, oh, I suck at this, have the mindset that, hey, maybe I'm not good at it right now, but if I practice it enough and if I get better, like eventually I'll do well. Think about it like weightlifting. Like imagine if you like looked at a guy who was overweight and he said like, yeah, I'm just not gonna go to the gym because I can't deadlift 400 pounds. You will say, well, hey dumbass, like you're not supposed to be able to deadlift 400 pounds right away. Like practice on the empty bar first. And then maybe if you do that for 2 to 3 years, you'll be able to eventually deadlift 400 pounds. So always have a learner's mindset, a growth mindset, and don't just beat yourself up. If you found this video helped you, be sure to click the like and subscribe button and also turn on the post notifications so you can see more videos like these. I'll see you for the next video, bro.